Welcome to the Jay Youngblood experience. So I won't be doing intros too terribly often on this podcast. I just feel like it's weird. But since this is the first pod, I will be doing a little intro, telling a little bit about myself and what the purpose behind, this podcast was or is actually. So the main reason for this podcast is I want to be able to learn as much as possible about any and every subject. I want to be a jack of all trades. I just want to learn as much as possible. Have people on that are fun to talk to who don't exactly see eye to eye to me. I just want to test myself and kind of broaden my horizons. I want to get to know myself better through talking to other people. And I think the best way to do that is conversation. Whenever you're talking to people, that's whenever you start learning more. And the less curious we are as human beings, the less we know about the world itself. And I think that's when we become the angry people that we are today, where we don't see the eye to eye on anything, and we're always arguing, always going over stuff. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have right now, is the fact that nobody talks. Nobody talks at all. If you disagree with somebody, just don't leave me alone. Don't talk to me. So that's the main reason for this podcast. I don't really have a major theme. My major theme would be solely learning as much info as possible and getting people on the podcast who don't always agree with me, you know? I don't really care about people agreeing with me. I'd rather have good conversation and just talk about things. We're going to, talk about things from music to sports to politics to social events, everything. We're just going to talk about everything on this podcast. Everything goes. Now, this would not be a hateful podcast. This would not be a vulgar podcast. We're going to be talking about stuff that I'm just interested in. I'm going to try to get people on here just to talk, man. Just to talk. I'm a very curious person, and that's the reason this podcast is even a thing, is I just want to learn more each day. And I just think with that demeanor, by the end of my life, I'll know a little bit more about life. But let's get into it, really. So, my name is Jacob Jay Youngblood. I go by Jay. I have 11 siblings, big family. Absolutely blessed to have all those people in my family. Obviously, it's hard to even name all of them at this point. But, I love the fact that I have a big family, because not only do I have my siblings, but now I'm having sister-in-laws. I'm having nieces, nephews, and my nieces and nephews are my entire life. Whenever I see them, it makes my entire day. Not that I want kids, because God knows I don't need any kids, but having nieces and nephews that you can have and play with, and just seeing that innocence and the simple things make them happy. Obviously, us at this age, I'm 23 now, or 23. Simple things aren't always what make us happy anymore. It's not. We're getting to the age where we're chasing money. We're chasing money, chasing a future, and trying to figure our ways through the world. Another thing is, I don't think people my age have a voice currently, and hopefully this will be a way for people my age, people like me, to have more of a voice. I think our generation is looked down upon. We'll call it anything from snowflakes to anything under the sun. I just don't think that's all of us. I don't think all of us are here to just do nothing and just live off of everyone else. I think there are a lot of innovative, compassionate, charismatic people in my generation. I think they need to be shown. So anyway, if you do have anyone who should be on the podcast who is a smart person. It doesn't have to be my age, but if you just want to have conversation, please come on the podcast. Obviously, we have to schedule it. I do have some scheduling coming up, but please, I'm willing to talk to anyone about anything. And not that I'm saying I'm going to argue, but I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody from any background. Because I think that's the most important thing, man. I really do. I think talking to people, having conversations, is one of the best things we can do as a people. Just having conversations, just talking. The curiosity that we're built with, that is just an instinct for us, I think that's what we're missing in this generation. But I think there are a lot of smart, intelligent people in my generation that get overshadowed because we do have a lot of idiots in my generation as well. We do. We have a lot of snowflakes who don't want to work, who don't want to, they just think everything should be handed to them. And, I've seen it. I understand. But at the same time, there are some great people my age, man. C.J. Pearson's one of them, for sure. C.J. Pearson right now is running for, I think, state senate. Great person, man. He knows what he's talking about. And a lot of people, just because he's a Republican, shoot him off. See, I'm neither Republican nor Democrat. I'm somewhere in the middle. But for some reason now, if you're in the middle, you're automatically a conservative. And I'm not a conservative. But C.J. Pearson, not that I agree with everything he says, because I don't. He's a very smart person. Really smart. Shout out to Snoop. Snoop, what you doing, buddy? What you doing? But anyways, yeah. There's some smart people in this generation, man. I think we're looked down upon because a few faces here and there that don't know how to act. But my generation has some smart people, man. Really smart people, and they need to be seen. They need to be heard. Because I think right now, just with everything going on, it's hard for people in my generation to connect and be able to understand someone who's in Senate, someone who's in Congress, someone who's a president who is 70 plus years old. It's hard to do that. It just doesn't make sense to us. And I'm not saying they need to be our age, but that's our grandparents, man. We can't agree on everything. And I understand that. But there's no way an 80-year-old is going to connect with someone who is 23 to 28. It's just not going to happen. It's not. But we're not going to get too far into that just yet. I have some people who are going to be on the podcast who we can elaborate on that with. And I'm not ignorant to the fact that I may not know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just talking. It's just, you should never take anything I say seriously. I'm just here throwing my thoughts and ideas into the universe. That's it. I'm not here to make anybody upset. I'm not here to anger anyone. I'm just putting my thoughts and ideas into the universe. And I think that's a big thing, man. Stop holding back. If you have ideas, speak them. Just speak them out. Write them down. Read them a couple times, and if it's like, damn, this is stupid, don't say it if that's how you feel. But the problem is nobody wants to talk anymore, man. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. There is no reason we shouldn't be talking to each other. I don't care. Like I said, I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care about any of that. All that is just another way for the government to control us and divide us. We are this nation, right? We are the people. We're the reason this place still goes. You know what I mean? We are. And they see that at the top, where the government is. And at 3 years old, I don't trust the government whatsoever. At all. I mean, why should I? And like I said, I'm not going to jump into a lot of stuff right now. There's just a lot of stuff, if you deep dive and get into a wormhole, that the government is not someone to be trusted at all. They've done some absolutely terrible things. Awful things. It's been declassified with the CIA, FBI, all the above, and there is no possible way I would ever trust the government, ever. And like I said, we'll get into that in further episodes. I'm just touching on some things we may talk about. Another thing we're talking about, I'm a Cowboys fan. And a lot of people listen to this right now, whether you're on the way to work, at work, or just listen to it on your own. I know, I'm a Cowboys fan. I know. I mean, we're going to jump in all that. Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, Jerry Jones, all the above. I hate them and I love them at the same time. We have a love-hate relationship, me and the Cowboys. But I'm not one of the Cowboys fans that is ignorant to the fact that we haven't won in a while. We haven't. We suck. In all sense of the word. Ever since, what was it, 96, 95? We sucked. And what I mean by suck, if you're not winning championships, you suck. You're just mediocre. You're just not good. And unfortunately, I've had to go through Tony Romo, and I love Tony Romo, but at that time we didn't have a defense, so we were giving up 30 points a game. And then we get Dak, and he does well. He takes us to the playoffs the first year. But these one and dones are terrible. Something needs to be done. I'm tired of watching my Cowboys play football so well during the season. One of the best teams in the league. And then we get into the playoffs and we piss the bed every time. Just absolutely piss the bed. I don't know if we're not prepared for it. I don't know if we just don't know what we're doing. I don't know. It drives me absolutely insane. I'm also a Mavericks fan. Shout out to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, Mark Cuban, all of them. I do love basketball. We'll be getting into Michael Jordan, LeBron debates. If you're going to ask me, I'm Kobe all day. That's just me. I grew up watching Kobe. Kobe is a very tenacious player. He was someone I looked up to. So there's no one who's going to tell me Kobe's not the greatest of all time, because that's just based on the influence he had on me. And I think that's another thing we will have to talk about whenever we talk about GOATs, right? Because a lot of people who grew up in the 80s and 90s got to see Jordan do some amazing things in person, right there, whether it be on TV screen or in the games, got to watch him. People in my generation, 01 babies, 02 babies, we didn't get to see Jordan in his prime. We got to see clips. We got to see people, or we got to hear talk to people about how great he was, but we weren't there. So that's the problem. I'm able to see Kobe. I'm able to see LeBron. I didn't see Michael, so how can I put him in the top 5 category? How can I do that? That doesn't make sense. I never saw the fucking player play. So that's another thing we'll talk about. We'll also get into a lot deeper subjects. Something I struggle with every day is mental health issues, man. And not only just in general, but with men, man. It's not good. It's not good at all. I mean, the amount of men that kill themselves each year is exponentially growing. And no one's talking about it. And it's absolutely sick. Mental health is the issue, fellas. Mental health is a really big issue. And the reason men don't talk about it is because men are told to shut up, wash it off, and go about your day. You're not allowed to show any type of struggle. You're not allowed to struggle as a man. You're not allowed to hurt as a man. You're not allowed to cry as a man. You were supposed to be perfect as a man. And this is no dig at anybody in particular. This is nothing like that. But this is just based on my experiences. And if you are unable to experience that and you have had a good life and maybe your mental health is good, God bless you, man. Well, me personally, it hasn't. And I can give a little background to that. So this is what the rest of the podcast would be about today, would be the mental health. So when I think it was 14, 15 years old, I'm middle school. I'm in middle school. going through puberty, prepubescent maybe. My grandma gets sick, right? So my grandma gets sick, finds out she has pneumonia, right? She gets pneumonia, she's in the hospital. I visit her. First day I visit her, man. She's talking, laughing. We're having conversation. She's there, you know what I mean? When I'm talking to her, I can see her. That's my grandma. I can see her in my eyes. I can see her, we have conversation. But she's telling me, hey, I'm not always going to be here, right? I'm not always going to be here for you. So I need you to find a woman that's going to take care of you. Because your mom's not always going to be there either. And whenever you find that woman, make sure she takes care of you. Make sure she loves you. Make sure she loves you. Let me put emphasis on that. Make sure she loves you unconditionally. I still remember I could see her laying in that bed telling me, listen, I want you to find a woman who's going to take care of you, who's going to love you, who's going to be there for you in your low times. So past that, I know, Grandma, I got this. I know, Grandma, I got this. Everything's going to be good. We're going to be out of here tomorrow. Everything's going to be fine, right? I get back to the hospital the next day. And she's not even talking. She's there, but she's not there. Right? Mentally, she's there. But she can't speak. She can't move at that point. And being a 14, 15-year-old kid, seeing your grandma just lay there, I don't want to say lifeless, because you knew the light was on, right? But you're not able to talk to the person who you loved. I think that was, because I remember standing next to my brother Daryl, and I'm like, yesterday we were talking and having conversation. And then today it's just like she's not there. The lights are on, but nobody's outside. And that's like the forbidden fruit growing up. That's when you lose your innocence right there. Whenever you experience that first like big catastrophe in your life, that's the forbidden fruit. Whenever you experience that, a lot of people say, oh, time will heal it. So my grandma was my best friend. My grandma was she was my rock. She was my best friend. She taught me more than school or college could ever teach me about life. I would spend entire summers at her house, weekends. I was at my grandma's house. I even had a t-shirt that said, sorry, I'm on the way to grandma's. I was at my grandma's house all the time. I love my grandma. And it still messes with me today. Just seeing the woman I love, my grandma, laying in that hospital bed and talking to her, right? And then the next day she's there, but she's not there. Was the biggest issue for me. It was absolutely crazy. And what people don't understand is how relevant that is. They don't understand what death is until it happens, and when it happens, you still don't really know, right? So the second most catastrophic thing that ever happened in my life was my mom going to the hospital, and this is when COVID was going rampant. COVID was a bastard, man. Y'all remember it. Everybody remembers it. It was a very weird time for everyone. A very weird time. But my mom got COVID. She got COVID. And she ended up having to go to the hospital. I believe she was in the hospital. I don't. It was between 10 and 15 days, and I witnessed some things through that time, not only about myself but other people, that really bothered me. And I think it was more the reactions. For example, I was at work. I get the call from my dad. Hey, I'm having to take your mom to the hospital. She has COVID. Her blood oxygen was at like 60, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm sorry. I don't remember. This is 3-4 years ago. So I called my boss at the time. I'm like, hey, I gotta go home. All right. My dad's not doing okay. My brothers and sisters, it's my mom. I need to go. And my boss was just like, why? Why? I was like, my mom's going to the hospital, man. I got brothers and sisters who are in their teenage years that need someone there to take care of them. Because unfortunately, my dad was lost mentally. And I completely understand. I don't even know what he was going through at the time. Because having the love of your life in the hospital, not knowing what's going to happen, that's crazy. But the way my work answered that was like, are you serious? My mom's in the hospital, man. My mother, my best friend, someone I tell everything to, someone I see every day. I give her a hug before I go to sleep. Hey, mom, I love you. I love you too. I love you more. No way. That's what we say every time. And the way they reacted was the most sickening thing I ever felt in my life. But anyways, we get home, and my dad is just out of it. And I understand my dad is gone. Mentally, he's not knowing what to do. Struggling really, really hard. And I completely understand. He's struggling. I would be too. So I take care of my brothers and sisters. I say, hey, we're not sitting in this house loathing and just waiting for something bad to happen. We're going out. And I took them to academy, got them some food, all the above. But I think the issue for me is I wasn't able to experience what I was going through. And what I mean by that is I wasn't able to feel the pain of my mother being in the hospital. It was time for me to grow up and say, okay, my dad is very upset about his wife, and that's the love of his life. So it's time for me to step up and help him out. He's helped me out. He's helped everybody out in his family. It's time for me to take control and let him know I'm there for him. So I take care of them the entire time. I'm like, hey, Dad, whatever you need, you let me know. Because that was a rough time for all of us. My mom is the glue that keeps our family together. So whenever that all happened, someone had to step up. And shout out to my brother Taylor, Bud, all of them. All of my brothers and sisters that stepped up whenever my mom was in the hospital. I love every single one of y'all. Y'all killed it. Y'all absolutely killed it. But yeah, I could never, luckily, in the end of the story, luckily my mom got through. She did lose a ton of weight. She was on oxygen when she got out. They expected her to be on oxygen for a very long time. She got off it pretty quickly. And then she started being herself again. My mom is the strongest woman I have ever met in my life. The strongest woman. And I absolutely adore her. And Dad, this is not a dig at you. I'm simply saying someone had to be there for you because you've been there for everybody else. It was time for someone to be there for you. And I know I'm getting all this off on a podcast, and it's like, why didn't you just tell them? But this is therapy for me. You know what I mean? This is therapy. But right now, I'm about to go take little boy's bathroom break. I'll be right back. Number three. Yeah, number three. Yeah. Would be. This is going to be a hard one because it's very, very fresh. But my grandfather, man. My grandfather. So my grandfather was one of the strongest men I've ever met in my life. Boat captain, yacht captain, I don't think 20, 30 plus years. And growing up, he was a very, very strong man. He, very strong man. And so he ended up getting cancer in the lungs. And at this point, right, I'm living by myself. Me and grandfather we're like this. We're so connected, right? And so we get sick. And at this point, I want to say I'm 21, 22, between that. And, he comes stays with me. He's on oxygen at this point. Him and my nana come stay with me. And I was like, hey, y'all come stay at my house. Because they were staying in Augusta time. I think it was around Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? I told them, come stay with me, right? I've always stayed with you. You come stay with me. So come stay with me and stay in my guest room. And so I'm cooking them tacos that night. We had a full spread. I made sure it had that everything they could possibly have. They had it that night. We ate. Had a little bit of wine. My nana goes get ready for the bed, making the bed, all that. Grandfather grabs me by the hand. He says, Jacob, I want you to know something. Actually, he said Jay. He never really called me Jacob, but let me tell you something, son. I'm very proud of what you've become as a man. The fact that you, at the time, the house I was living in, he's like, this is so great. The man you become, the person you become, the grandson you become, I'm very proud of you. Very proud. And that, man, that is one of the best feelings you can ever feel. When your grandparent, your parent, someone like that, someone who's on a ladder, right? Because you always think yourself, probably like right here, that man was up there. He looked at me and said, I'm proud of you. And a lot of men out there who will listen to this podcast, you probably haven't heard that, or may or not heard that, right? Because men, we don't show emotion, right? That was exactly my granddad. He didn't show emotion, unless it was one-on-one. Because as a man, you show emotion and you're soft, right? And I will never, ever forget that. Ever. And then I believe it was a couple weeks after he passed away. And I remember speaking at his funeral. I wrote a lot down. I still have that with me. But that man had so much impact on my life. And again, it's just like, you don't know what you have until it's almost gone or gone. When I lost my granddad, it was like a piece of me died with him for sure. Absolutely. And I'm still recovering from that. Absolutely. Without a doubt. I have anxiety issues, depression issues. I'm all, medicated, obviously. But whenever something like that happens, it's not easy to get over. And don't let anyone tell you that it is. Don't let anyone tell you that it is. Because that's traumatic, man. It is. It's rough. I went on boating trips with him, fishing trips with him. I've been everywhere with that man. I've seen him dance. I've seen him cry. I've seen him laugh. I've seen him sing, dance. That was my guy. That was my best friend. And knowing that he went out, still smiling, man, that's awesome. He was one of the strongest people I've ever met in my life, for sure. And I do wish he was still here. I wish he could hear me on this podcast. I wish my grandma could hear me on this podcast. But it's not about, we're all selfish. We want everybody that we care about to stay forever. And unfortunately, we can't have that, right? But I appreciate so much the fact that the odds of them being in my life and the odds of me being born were like 1,000,000 to 1. But I was able to have them in my life, and I am more than grateful for that. Though it may hurt that they're no longer here, I have all the memories to remember them by, and that's one of the greatest things I can ask for. I absolutely adore them. My mother, I'm glad she's still here. Mom, I love you. And if I don't say it enough, I probably don't, but you are one of the greatest human beings ever. You keep me sane, Mom. And I do appreciate you. And Nana, I know you lost your husband. You lost someone you were with a very long time. And I can't even imagine what that feels like. But you're one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life as well. I've had some really strong figures in my life when it comes to my Nana, with my grandfather, my grandmother, my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters. I've had some really good figures in my life to look up to, and I can't be more grateful. Can't be more grateful. So shout out to all them. Shout out to my family, all my nieces and nephews. Shout out to my brothers, sisters. Shout out to my mom and dad. And shout out to all my nieces and nephews. I absolutely adore y'all. And I really just want to end this podcast talking about mental health, honestly. I struggle with it every day. I do. I take medicine for it. I'm always questioning myself if I'm good enough. And this is very vulnerable of me to say. So it's awesome that I'm actually able to say it. But one thing about being a man is you're not allowed to show emotion. You're not. And if you do, you're wrong. And that's whether you're angry, sad, any of the above. You're not allowed to be upset. But I'm telling you now, anybody who's listening to this and may be a man who's struggling with mental illness or struggle with any type of mental health, you were allowed to be upset. You don't have to be perfect every day, right? I personally, right, the past couple weeks have been rough for me. It just has. I'm not going to get into all that, but it's been rough. Past couple years, actually. I'm not even going to lie. And my mom told me, she said, listen, you've been trying to be perfect. You've been damn near perfect your entire life, right? You've made mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. But you have been the closest figure to perfect. She said, let somebody else be perfect for a while. Just take a break. Take a break. Just be you for a little while. You don't have to put on this persona. Just be you. And that's some of the best advice I've ever gotten. Shout out to my mom. Shout out to moms. And we always try to be perfect, but we'll always fall short, is what I learned. Because I try to be perfect every day. I do. Whether it's from my outfit, my clothes, my socks, my shoes, my ride. We always try to be perfect. But listen, man, we can't always be perfect, and that's fine, right? It's fine. You're not going to be perfect. I've tried, and I can't get there yet. And I don't think I ever am. But that's okay. Because I'm always going to strive for it no matter what. But I'll never be perfect. And that's okay. So if anybody out there is doubting themselves, anybody out there is struggling mentally, saying, I can't do this anymore, there's always time, man. You can do whatever you want to do. You can be whoever you want to be. Just go out and do it. Go out and do it. Don't let anybody hold you back. Ever. Just be you. Don't be the type that waits and does, just waits in time for it. Be you. Be the person you've always wanted to be. If you got somebody looking up to you, you got nieces, nephews, you got kids, son, daughters, do it for them, man. Don't let nobody hold you back. What can they say? La, 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 wait till I get my money right. La, 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 and you can't tell me nothing right. Excuse me, was you saying something? You can't tell me nothing. And that's what I live by, man. I know Kanye's not the greatest figures right now, but don't let anybody tell you what you can or can't do. Be you, man. If you like Louis Vuitton and Gucci, wear that shit, right? But if you're an athlete, be an athlete, right? If you weld for a living, weld for a living. If that's what you love, do it. But don't give up on your dream for anybody. Nobody, ever. It's not worth it. Be you. Don't be a watered down version of you. Don't let anybody control who you are. Just be you. Be you. Truly you. Not a watered down version, not a salty version. Be you. Never shut down for nobody. We only got one life, and you got about 70, 75 years to live it. And it goes by fast. So don't waste time. Be what you want to be, do what you want to do. Love who you want to love. Love who you want to love. And grind. There is beauty in the struggle, man. There's beauty in the struggle. If you're struggling right now, know that stuff is awesome. Struggle, bro. Do it. Go to the gym. If you're only lifting up 5 pounds today, lift up 5 pounds. If you're only making $5 a day, make your $5 a day and be happy about it. Because it could be worse. It can always be worse. If you're driving a Ford Fusion today and you want a Bugatti by next year, bust your ass and get it. Bust your ass and get it. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But if you bust your ass and you grind and get after it, you can do whatever you set your mind to. You can. That's what I've been preached my whole life. Everybody, my nana, my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother, my dad, my brothers, reach for the damn stars. If you don't catch it, catch a planet, bro. Don't give up. Don't. I want y'all to know I love every single one of y'all. If you listen to this podcast, it means a lot to me. I don't expect to have any type of fame from this or money or nothing like that. Like I said, I'm just getting my words and ideas and thoughts out into the world. And as I'm sitting right now, it's my birthday. I just turned 22. Shout out to me, man. I love it. I love it. I'm 22, 23 years young. I got so much more to live for. I got so much more knowledge to get. Shout out to everyone who ever has taken care of me, loved me, showed me love, helped me out, gave me knowledge. There's so many people on my list I could shout out to. Family, friends, siblings, cousins, uncles, aunts. Anybody who listens to this today, just know you are loved, you're taken care of, and somebody's missing you today. All right? Don't give up. Be tough. And be on the grind. Love y'all. Thank you for listening today. The podcast, I think I'm at like 40 minutes now. It'll probably be a little bit longer from now on, but just shout out to everybody listening tonight and or today, whatever time you listen to this. I do appreciate it, and there'll be more to come. So what I'm trying to do is drop every Thursday. If I have more time, I'll drop maybe a couple more during the week. Like I said, I don't really have any goals with this. Just learning, listening, and getting more thoughts and ideas from other people. Love y'all. Take it easy. Peace.